Hello and welcome to Vegan Bloomers. It feels like it's been forever since I've been here, so I apologise for the lack of interviews lately. Things have been a bit hectic and whatever you. I suppose we all need a break sometimes. So yeah, I am Luna. I'm the founder, and our mission is to connect, inspire, and learn. And I would like to welcome our star vegan today, which is Andra.
Hello, Luna. Thank you for having me on. It's such an honor. I love what you do. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for joining us. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, let's begin with where you're based, how old you are, and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I am based in Los Angeles, California. I'm actually in Pasadena, more specifically, and I'm 44 years old. And gosh, I've been vegan for about, I lose track of years. I actually lose track of how old I am too sometimes, but I think it's been around like 7 years now. I think it's safe to say verging on 8 years vegan.
Awesome. So what are tell us about, do you have any hobbies like and in your interests?
Absolutely. I love to hike. I've got an adorable puppy that just my world revolves around her. She's kind of spying on me from the couch right now. Yeah, I love animals so much. I've always been really into biology. I love to read medical studies. I've always been that way though. Ever since I was in high school, I loved biology, advanced biology. Then I was the teacher's aide for the class. I didn't want to really leave that. And then I wanted to actually be a vet, but then I just realized how many animals you have to put down and I couldn't do it. So I changed. I went into to theater and education classes, right?
Oh,
and child psychology. And now I'm in sales, which is completely different than all of the things that stuck my interest in then. So
what do you sell?
So I'm in sales with Staples right now. I do facilities. There are facilities divisions for larger accounts, national accounts.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, sounds like you've had a very extravagant life from all your little hobbies. I love it. So let's talk about your journey. So you reckon you've been vegan for about 7 years. Tell us, like, what was it that led you there? How did you come to be?
Yeah, I don't know. Upon reflection, right? It's kind of crazy that I wasn't always. And I remember that I was always kind of haunted a bit by what animals had to endure in that industry. And I wasn't completely naive to it, although I really did cut off a lot of that learning. I had just, like we all, humanity is really good at having cognitive dissonance on things that just really don't serve what we want in the moment, and I used to love, like, ribeye steak was my favorite thing to eat. And, I grew up in northern Idaho, and that was really a lot. The vegan didn't exist in my world when I was young. I didn't really know of it as a possibility. I didn't know anyone that was vegan. I really did, when I moved out from home and I went to college, I really did kind of expand my knowledge base on that. And I was a little more exposed to different things. And just kind of wanted to go the route of what I thought was humane meat. And so I put more money and effort into looking in what I thought was humane. And then just quickly learned that there really isn't, that's not possible. But I still stuck to this belief that, like, I needed meat, like, for whatever vitamins or all those things. And I was kind of ignorant to it, even though biology is such a passion. It's kind of crazy. I didn't at that time break down, like, their skeletal tissue is just like our skeletal tissue. Everything that they get in their bodies, every single vitamin, every piece of nourishment is coming from what they eat, which is plants. Protein, where does that come from? It comes from plants. And it's just skeletal tissue, just like ours. Like, there's no need to eat animals any more than there would be a need to eat people. We don't need to anyway, that's just not a need. It doesn't have to happen, but it just took steps to learn that. And so where I really turned, like about 8 years ago, I went to a UCLA sustainability conference, and I heard some of the
Oh, that sounds cool.
yeah, it was incredible, right? And there's just all of these, well, they fed us all vegan food when we were there.
Nice.
So I got this experience of, oh, here's what meals are like for just vegan meals. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, this is great. It's great food. I felt great. And then also they just had a lot of information there to share on the damage of animal agriculture on the planet. So then it became just stacking up against itself. It's like, I'm not morally aligned with, my actions aren't morally aligned anyway with what I believe. Like, I don't believe in animal abuse. Why would I have to pay for that 3 times a day or more? And like, now it's also a matter of the destruction of the planet, up to like 2,000 gallons of water for a pound of meat. All the crops, like 80% of the crops in the world grown to feed livestock, the rainforest being destroyed single-handedly, really, for livestock. What we're doing to ourselves, what we're doing to each other too. Like, so it's just, that conference was just so eye-opening that I just came home from there and just threw out everything. I threw out a lot of my cookbooks, I signed up for vegan cooking classes in West Hollywood, which was really fun. It was a really great experience.
That sounds awesome, yeah.
And yeah, it was really fun. And then I started to change my diet, and funny things started to happen because I was in great shape. I felt great, but always in my life, I was anemic and I was vitamin D deficient. I was high cholesterol, and really the high cholesterol came in later, but I was anemic since I can ever remember. And then all of a sudden I became vegan for 3 months, the first 3 months. And I took a blood panel test because I had to do it every 6 months. My doctor was really on me about it since there was like high risk. And for the first time, perfect blood test, perfect blood work,
Amazing.
Yeah. Then I started to kind of read about the biology of that. Why is that? Right? Because then I'm curious, like, what's happening? Because I kind of thought going into it, like, oh my gosh, I'm anemic. I'm going to screw myself over, but I have to, because I need to be morally aligned with my choices. Right.
Yeah.
So then it's like, all of a sudden I'm making this choice where I feel like it's going to be a body sacrifice. And then it ends up being just this wealth of rewards. So
incredible.
Yeah. So then I just started looking that up, and I started to look up the links between, okay, so every time we eat meat, for 6 hours, our arteries are hardening, right? On average, 6.5. That's when cardiac events most likely happen after that kind of a meal. When our arteries are hardening, guess what? We can't really like absorb the nutrients from our bodies that we're intaking. The colon has trillions of bacterias, and that kind of helps to feed our whole system's health as well. And that helps to absorb different vitamins that we have in our bodies. And we're actually attacking that microbiome. We're really damaging it with all the antibiotics and meats, all the hormones and meats, that process. And we're feeding it. It's just actually, it's really incredible growth when you're eating fruits, veggies, legumes. Those are the things that really get that going. So then I'm like, all of a sudden, biologically, it's making sense to me that I didn't really make a body sacrifice to do this. I actually am reaping rewards for it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious, like, can you remember the name of this conference that you went to? Because I've never heard of a sustainability thing that actually incorporates veganism in it. Like, that's amazing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I have not been for a little while, and my work sent me, so it was paid for, which was really cool.
Awesome. Even better.
Yeah, it's really for the students, and they weren't like, the whole time it was not pushing just veganism. But for me, that was my first exposure to it, and first discussions that really kind of went outside of what I had what I knew already. I was like, wow, this isn't really common information. You know, dead zones in the ocean are all from that, just all of that. And let me see, it's UC sustainability. It happens every year. And it's mainly for the students and different like vendors that work with the universities and sustainability. And I mean, UCLA is incredible. I worked with that school and that's why I kind of got linked with it. But their sustainability footprint is incredible. They have a cogen plant. They generate most of their power on, you know, the campus. They're pretty stand up when it comes to that. So here, let me do this. I'm gonna search it for you. Oh, so it's, yeah, well, gosh, they have tons of conferences now. So
okay.
exactly what I went. Yeah, California Higher Education Sustainability Conference. UCs are in that. UC Davis has a sustainability conference. They have their sustainability summit, and that might be it.
Is this a specific website you're on?
Oh, I'm just Googling. I just put UC Sustainability Conference, and then all of a sudden, oh, here it is. It's Cheswick. So it's CHESC, California Higher Ed Sustainability Conference.
Okay, awesome. I will find that and I'll add a link in the description so that people can check that out. Because that's great. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
For sure, and I'll send you if there's anything, the links for that kind of stuff I can send your way as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So when you did make the plunge, like in terms of your personal community, your friends, your family, how did they take that when you decided that this is what I'm doing now? What was the reaction?
You know, it's interesting. Some people were almost kind of threatened in a way, like, because I think that they love doing dinner parties and I love doing dinner parties. And I think that was like, oh no, we're not gonna be able to do what we need to do or whatever. But then for the most part, like most of my friends, I think are pretty just open, kind, amazing people, you know, that I've gravitated to in my life. And they're really open to at least a vegan meal, you know? So I started having vegan dinner parties, some, right? Yeah. And I started having vegan dinner parties and I just really I don't know, I'm grateful for my friends. A lot of people were really open to it. They liked the food. I'd heard repeatedly, if I had food like this, I could go vegan too. You know, if someone was cooking this for me, and that made me feel really good. And a lot of friends have gone vegan. I mean, I can't tell you how I feel about that. Yeah. Amazing human beings. And we're all on that journey to kind of grow and change. And they certainly, I feel very blessed.
That's amazing. So you obviously like cooking, so we've got to ask about food. What's your go-to meal? Like, what do you love to make when you're having a dinner party? Because like I've seen a lot of people like, I don't know what to make, you know, especially for people that are omnivores. What do I feed them to make them see that plant-based food is good? Like, what do you cook?
So I have to admit that during the pandemic, I have really held off on my dinner parties, which is very sad. And I actually did have a few, like maybe 2 people over or one other person over. We'd be outside having, or, you know, just my little pad, I guess. We'd have dinner parties. But I took a real break from what I felt like, you know, my big time dinner parties. However, what I learned is if I ask people what their favorite things are to eat, with meat, doesn't matter. If they like a stroganoff, if they like a stew, if they like whatever they like, I would just ask kind of what their favorite thing was. And I thought it was a really fun experience to just Google vegan, that item, right?
Yeah.
A vegan roast or a vegan whatever. I loved trying to roast like watermelon into like a meat dish, which is crazy because the watermelon actually dehydrates on top of itself and it becomes almost like that consistency of a meat. And then you've got
really?
what it stews in. Yeah. I mean, it's very good, very surprising. But yeah, I just
Yeah.
would guess what their favorite thing is, and then I would make it. And I really, in the last 2 years, have gotten into baking. So
I
I
love
mean,
cake.
oh my gosh, applesauce in there and a cake. It's the moisture, and now I just know every time I'm baking that for 1 tablespoon of ground flax in water, let it sit for a couple minutes. That's an egg. That's always an egg. So that's my go-to all the time if it asks for a binder or something.
Yeah.
That would be an egg consistency. It's just like 1 tablespoon of flaxseed mixed with some water. And then that's my egg. And then dairy, that's easy. I've got soy or oat milk or all those. So yeah, I've really gotten into baking, which has been a lot of
That's
fun.
awesome. What's your favorite thing to bake?
I really like baking cupcakes and cakes. So I'm trying a strawberry cake actually for this next week for
Oh,
kind
that
of
sounds
a get
lovely.
together. I love cake.
That's
All
awesome.
the sugar.
So is there a certain thing that you found that you used to eat in the past before being vegan that you miss? Is there anything that you miss from before?
No, it's so weird. It's funny because I used to a lifetime ago smoke and in like high school, and I remember when I quit, there was a window of time where I would almost smell it and I'd be like, oh, I kind of miss that. There's something that would smell good about it. And then very quickly, it seemed, time went by and I would smell it and it just smells not good.
Yeah.
And that's very much now. It's so funny. My body has changed so much that I even go into grocery stores. It's the weirdest thing, but I've actually heard that other people feel this way. But when I go into a grocery store now, I almost smell the rotten of the meat. I smell the rot of it and
Yeah.
bleach. It's so weird. I just smell like rottenness and bleach. I never smelled it before. I used to go in the meat section and now if I smell some meat cooking, it smells almost like I don't know, feces like it smells not good. Not that it always smells not good, but I'm to the point now I certainly don't crave it, but this smell now is way more off-putting. And it's
Yeah.
weird. It's like my body changed because I used to think that stuff smelled good, Now it's weird. Does that
Yeah,
happen for you?
I think I've definitely noticed since being vegan, all of like I'm quite a sensitive person anyway, I always have been. But since being vegan, like all of my other senses have suddenly become like really heightened. Like my taste buds are so sensitive, like to the point that I'm now allergic to quite a lot of stuff, which is annoying. But to be honest, that started before I became vegan. That I blame America for that because I lived in America for a little while. And suddenly, when I lived in America, I started becoming allergic to all these fruits. And I was like, this is weird. This has never happened before. What's happening? But yeah, like my sense of smell is like, it's got stronger. My hearing is like so much more sensitive. Like it's so weird. But yeah, I have I don't know how I managed to accumulate this skill, but I do have this skill where I have like selective sense of smell. So I can block out those kinds of things, but I definitely do notice it. Like I will try to, if I'm going to the store, I will avoid, the meat aisle, like,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't see me in a butcher's or anything like that anymore, like, because I can smell it like a lot more sensitively, but I do also have the ability to just block it out somehow. I wish I
Oh,
knew the
that's a
secret
good
so I could
gift.
share that, but I don't.
That's a really good gift. I wish I had that gift. And yeah, it's something that I don't want to be dramatic about it. Like, oh, the smell, I just like take it in, notice it and like, okay, that smells,
Yeah.
and try not to mention it. I think but yeah, that's interesting. Well, it makes sense on a biological level. I think that when we're not clogging up our micro vessels and are hardening our arteries with every meal we eat for 6 hours on end, like I think that medical studies just prove ocular degeneration, like all of our organs, all of our small organs, all of our major organs, they get severely affected by that. So it makes sense that vision, smell, hearing, like all those senses would probably improve, which is just blood flow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is
So,
true. So do
yeah.
you eat do you have a whole food diet, or do you still eat meat substitutes? What's your diet like?
Okay, so I've gotten so bad during COVID. I used to be a little bit better with cooking. I used to love to make like a mushroom sausage, and I'd make my own meats, especially when I was doing those cooking classes.
Wow, that's dedication.
It was fun. Well, it was just, I wouldn't do it. It wasn't crazy. To be honest, it was so fast because, veggies cook so fast. I was feeling
Yeah.
like I was making tastier, better meals in a like way shorter amount of time. It was just a matter of taking mushrooms, blending them, taking walnuts, blending them, like, blending things together and cooking for a short amount of time. But
Okay.
with like cinnamon and different things. But now during COVID, I really got into like impossible meat, like beyond sausage. I could almost eat every day. I really love all the cheeses, like forget about it. There's a store I go to, it's called Besties. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No,
I
I
think it's
haven't
just
heard
a
of that
Los
one.
Angeles thing, but it's all vegan. And what's so incredible is that they vet everyone they work with. So they only will do companies that are 100% cruelty free, don't sell any animal products. So they don't sacrifice like their goal
Yeah.
by
Well,
business
that's really
partnerships.
good.
And so yeah, it's all like vegan. It's just amazing stuff. They have the best cheeses, like, oh my gosh, that you'd ever imagine. I do still make like my own stuff, like sour cream. I make my own sour cream. I just soak cashews and in water for like maybe 5 hours or overnight. And then I blend them in the Vitamix, and I put a little bit of salt and a little bit of lemon, and it makes like the yummiest sour cream.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, just simple, like 3 ingredient, but it's really good. A little bit of water, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, depending, or you could make it more of a runny, sauce or something. But yeah, and I like to make my own cheeses every once in a while too, with like potatoes and carrots. I used to, like, the first time I learned how to do that, I was like, I feel like a wizard. This is like a magic thing when you put like, like you put like carrots and just these whole food vegetables, you blend it up, and it's like, it looks like almost like a nacho cheese, or like a Velveeta cheese substance, and it tastes very good, nutritional yeast, like all those things. So yeah, I do like to make those things, and I'd like to get back more into it. I think when I was cooking for other people, it was just more enticing to make more of those things. And now when it's just me, a lot of the time, it's just easier to have something to throw on the stove ready to go
Yeah.
to eat, right? So it's like oatmeal in the morning. I'm gonna have my impossible meat or beyond sausage with veggies. I love stir fries. They're just the easiest thing to do, especially just with me. I love garlic sauces and things like that. So that's kind of my
Making me
favorite.
hungry.
Oh, sorry, I know, right? Me
Like
too.
feel the saliva like forming in my mouth as we're talking.
Oh my God. Oh, I have to share with you. Speaking of breakfast. Oh, well, you're on your dinner hour. We're like so
Yeah.
separate in time frame. But for breakfast now, my new favorite thing is to make omelets, and I make it that mung bean. So I do the just eggs sometimes, and it's just ground up mung beans. But you actually can just soak, and I've tried to soak mung beans and puree them, and you can make just such a great omelet replace.
Oh, really? I did not know
Yeah,
that. I wonder
yeah.
if
So
I
you
can.
just,
I don't think I've ever actually seen mung beans. I have to see if I can get them here.
oh, it's so good. It's such a
Try
great
it.
source of protein too. I mean, talk about, and it's feeding your gut biome. I mean, talk about the benefits.
Yeah.
Really good for you. But yeah, and then if you put a little bit of black salt, which also has all the extra minerals, all these benefits, that actually provides kind of a
Yeah, the eggy
yeah,
taste.
yeah, the eggy
Yeah.
taste.
I've
Exactly.
heard a lot about black salt. I haven't managed to get a hold of any yet, but I'm like always on the lookout. I go to these weird stores and I'm like, where is black salt? And they never have it in stock. I'm like, for goodness sake. One day.
That's the
One
stuff.
day.
It's those specialty things. You might have to go online. My
Yeah.
new search right now is edamame noodles, because my
Oh,
friends are
they're so
saying like,
nice. I've had edamame noodles. They are delicious.
oh, and they're so good in their protein and like so good for you. So I'm like, oh my God, I love pasta. So I do like spaghetti squash pasta and different things. I also just eat pasta, plenty of pasta.
Yeah.
But like, I really do want to try out the edamame because they're saying the benefits. So that's what I'm in my stores looking for here.
That's funny. I found an organic store actually, and it'll be sod's law. I didn't actually look for it this time, so I bet it was in there and I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I have to make
Oh
sure I go
man.
back to London and see if I can find it. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm trying to not I try not to go to shop online unless I have to. Like I've started to use, I don't know whether they have it in America. We've got a website called Etsy, which it's all local businesses. Like it's more pricier than like somewhere like Amazon and eBay, but I want to support locals as much as I can. So if I'm going online, I tend to do that, or I would do but I don't do this often because I always spend so much money. Then we have like a vegan supermarket in the UK, so everything's vegan in there, and I'll do that, but it's like a lot, so I try to avoid it. But other than that, I do try to just stick to the local stuff, so to lower
I
my
think that's
carbon footprint.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's really good. And absolutely, there's times I find myself on a budget where I'm like, oh, I want to plan these trips or do these things, and I really want to like kind of budgetize certain things. So it's like, yeah, I mean, when in doubt, rice and beans and carrots and potatoes and all those things, green beans. There's so many things. It's funny because I do know that our food sometimes gets a rap for the price, but if we just actually stick to the healthiest options,
Yeah,
which
the
are whole
basics, and then
foods,
it's pretty cheap.
it's
Yeah,
way cheaper, like way cheaper. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I definitely it's definitely doable. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you could do a vegan cheese, or you could blend, let me tell you, carrots and potatoes. So anyway, and
Oh,
blend
is
it
that how
together.
you make a cheese sauce?
Yeah, literally, you do. It's been a little while. It's so good though. Oh my gosh, yeah. There, you put like potatoes, you boil potatoes and carrots, and you put nutritional yeast, a little bit of salt, things like that, and you blend it, and
Yeah.
it's just a delicious cheese.
I've had
Yeah.
something similar, but I think in the one that I did, it had sweet potatoes in it as well. Or
Ooh.
probably,
Oh, that
yeah,
would be
that was
good.
really nice. And I think butternut squash as well, I've seen in those kinds of recipes, and that's lovely.
Oh,
So
that
I
sounds really
recommend
good.
that. Butternut squash and sweet potato, add to your mac and cheese sauce.
Oh, honey, I am so trying that. That's fantastic. I love that. And I love that it would add that kind of sweetness.
Mhm.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I
Yes,
gotta try that. Thanks for sharing.
you're very welcome. I'll see if I can find the recipe. I think it probably was an American one, because the first time I made it, I did it in America. So I'll see if I can dig it out for you, and I'll send it to you. And I'll
Oh,
share
that's
it with everyone else as well in the show notes.
fantastic.
So yeah, that's enough about food, I think.
Oh, I know.
Actually, no, I have one more question about food, and that is, when you were transitioning from meat eater to vegan, was there anything that you struggled to give up?
No, actually, I mean, I think I've just always been kind of a strong-willed person. So I think that I just like really set my mind to it and just kind of dove all in. But I did actually the baked goods. Like I remember the only like within the first few months when I did go vegan, when I just decided and that was going to be it. Um, I did have some, like I had a muffin randomly or like a cookie, and I was
Yeah,
like, oh, this has, this stuff, it's really, but then I couldn't stomach it. The dairy, I mean, is the most heartbreaking thing to me. I think it's a life of, having your
yeah,
baby taken away and all the abuses. I think they suffer the same end of slaughter and horror, but they are tortured,
throughout
endlessly
the whole life. Yeah, it's
for their
awful.
life. It's that to me, I think, is the saddest life, the saddest thing. And so I was like, okay, what the heck am I doing? I can't do the dairy, but I think it was hard to give up the baked goods. And then all of a sudden I had the vegan baked goods, and they were actually light. They felt like fluffier, lighter, more delicious. Like I don't know. I was like, I don't know what the hell everyone's doing. I don't get it. I don't understand why they have to torture these cows, these most docile, sweetest animals for like something that doesn't taste as good. It's bizarre.
No, I've noticed that. Like I've got a couple of friends that like they're not vegan themselves, but they love to cook and they will happily bake plant-based food. And every single time that they will bake, the cakes, they're so moist.
Yes.
And like I'm just like, oh my gosh, like they're amazing. Like these are so much better than anything you could make with dairy. And I'm just like, everyone should just have plant-based cake just because, you know, you don't even have to be vegan just because it's amazing. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. 100%, right? Like applesauce, there's the flaxseed, which is so good. I mean, when you think about the fiber and what that, I mean, you know, cake's not healthy, but come on, like, you know, adding some flaxseed is never not a bad thing, you know, compared, but
Exactly. And you do so many things. Like my friend made me an avocado cake, which was quite funny actually, because originally he didn't tell me what was in it because he thought I hated avocados, but he was thinking of our other friend. I was like, no, I love avocados. But he was really like, there's something in it that you're not going to approve of, so I'm not going to tell you what it's made of. And it was so lovely. Like it was just so light and airy and like really moist. I was like, I never would have thought of putting avocado in a cake. Like it was so nice. Yeah.
That is awesome. I've got to look that up. There's actually an avocado pudding that I just am addicted to. It's just blending up avocados and like some cacao powder, and oh my gosh, it's so good. Dates, just dates. Oh my gosh, it's
I can imagine that sounds quite good actually.
It's so good, but it doesn't resemble any. It literally just looks like chocolate pudding, right? When you're eating it, it's just very much that whipped consistency in chocolatey, you know, velvety goodness. But yeah, it's avocados.
Yeah,
it's pretty great.
Love it.
But yeah, so I think actually the hardest, just to revisit kind of during that journey when I was transitioning into being vegan, it was really hard because I had eaten meat so much. The hardest thing for me is I went from all this meat, which is just basically like filling in the phyla, all my intestines, like, right? It's just sliding through and then just kind of wedging into those areas. And instead, now I'm having all this fiber, which is like roughing it up and taking it out. And I remember bloating was an issue for a couple months. And then it went the opposite. It was like, oh my gosh, I've never felt better on this other end. But it did take this transition, and it was a little tough on my system with just going from something that was just kind of clogging up my system, but it was like fine because it was just all going and working the way I thought it should.
Yeah.
Then to adding in all these nutrients and all this fiber, and then feeling like, holy heck, you know, I'm just really roughing up my system here. But yeah, I just read about it. I just did a little bit of reading, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's bloating, the gasiness, all that stuff. It really is normal. You're cleaning out your system majorly. I took probiotics in the morning and at night, and then I just, you know, I tried to ease into also the higher fiber. Like I would boil some veggies a little bit for a while, but then you know, it gets to the point where you could just eat all raw foods and all that stuff. I think that what happens when some people transition and they have like a all veggie meal and they're like, oh, it's blowing up my stomach or whatever, I think that they're not really connecting to the point of like, wow, you know, veggies actually shouldn't blow up your stomach. Like there's something to be cleaned out there. Probably there's some things that need to be realigned, maybe, you know.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing though, isn't it? Like just to think how much impact food has on our bodies.
Yeah.
Like just when you look at the science of, you know, the difference between, you know, dairy and meat, especially the processed stuff, to just eating whole food, plant-based. It's just incredible the things it can do. Like, and it's a shame, like even just on that level, like obviously I'm totally for, you know, veganism is all about the animals, but on the other end it's like I wish people would just eat plant-based stuff just for them, because we would just be so much happier and so much healthier just all round. Yeah.
100%. I could not agree more. You know, it's interesting. I see, since I changed diets, I see so often friends have issues. They're autoimmune, they have gout, they've got eczema, they have diverticulitis, all those things. Every single thing, if you look it up in like a more clinical study, not just some workout, you know, person trying to make a buck off a diet fad, you know, if you look at a clinical study and like, what is the best diet for diverticulitis? You know, it's a really gross, awful, painful infection in your intestines. Oh, yeah, cut out meat and dairy, you know, but again and again, and then increase plants. But they have to do it gently, right? Because their system
Yeah.
is so torn up anyway with all these issues. Autoimmune inflammation is huge. Well, cut out. If you look it up, meat and dairy, you cut it out. It's the most inflammatory thing you can do to your body.
Yeah.
Eczema, look up the ideal diet for eczema, cut out dairy and meat. I mean, just again and again, it's like, holy crap. Diabetes, type 2 diabetes, cut out dairy and meat. And like people are literally reversing type 2 diabetes again
I
and
know,
again
it's
and again. There's
amazing.
tons of medical studies. So, I mean, I don't know, ocular degeneration, what do you eat? Erectile dysfunction, what do you eat? Cut out, you know, it's all about blood flow, sugars, you know, it's like, come
Yeah.
on, right? Like
It is.
literally. It's like cut out dairy and meat. And I think that a lot of people, I don't know, I think it becomes very confusing because we have certain sources that's like meat and dairy industry has a lot of money and they feed into them, and it's like certain medical studies in like American Heart Association or all those things, which is crazy to me. But you used to be able to see their sponsor, like they'd get like, you know, 800,000 a year from a meat company, dairy company, egg company separately, like 600,000 from them, 300,000 from them, and then all of a sudden, but you'd realize that they'd always changed. Human biology has never changed, but you'll notice what they recommend based on their sponsorships changes, right? All of a sudden, eggs are good for you. Eggs are bad for you. Eggs are this. Well, I mean, that really is more than aligned with biology. It's aligned with like sponsorship, you know? So I
Yeah.
think it gets confusing. I think also that it's possible for people to go a long time in their life and be fine with the meat diet, and they're like workout gurus that say this is the only answer. But you know what? Check out like some of the top athletes now in every field. They're going vegan, and
Yeah.
they're kicking the carnivores'
They're
ass.
kicking butt.
You know, hey, they're kicking mine. They're kicking. I'm just thinking of like the people that specialize in that, and that's their goal. And I think that we just are more and more finding that that not only one is it not a sacrifice to give up these animals, eating animal flesh or their secretions or, you know, any of that. It's literally such a huge benefit. It's like our bodies are working better.
I know. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to another topic.
Sure.
So I'm curious whether you have ever been involved in any vegan activism.
Oh gosh, I just feel like the most activism I'm doing is doing my dinner parties and trying to just share information with friends, or I certainly am posting information on Instagram. I kind of feel like, or Facebook, I feel like it's the kind of thing maybe they don't want to sign up for a lecture, but it's like they can either go to my page or not. And I can certainly fill that space with all that information. I did actually do a few protests, and it was amazing. Oh my gosh, you know, just the most lovely human beings I think I have ever met at a few of those rallies. And just, you know, marching, and everyone had like these ornate like animal paper masks, or they had posters. They did beautiful artwork, or just different sentiments about their value for animals and their value for whatever it was. People could share their message and support, you know, for the voiceless, you know, standing up for those that aren't as strong or as capable
Speak our
as
language.
we are. Yeah. But I think the biggest activism I do every day is with every meal I choose, you know, every product I buy, I don't I'm just not gonna, I don't agree with animal abuse, and I'm just not gonna pay for it. And it's so liberating. And a lot of good has come into my life, a lot of good feelings. And I think not eating cortisol, you know, that's like flesh that's flooded with cortisol, also helps reduce my stress on some levels. But in general, I feel like my activism is just my choices daily. What
Lovely.
about you? Are you involved in some I mean, you're doing this, which
Well,
is
I'm doing this, yeah.
yes.
I haven't yet done any protests or anything. Like, I haven't done any street work, but it's on the list. I have a friend that's actually, he's trying to start this international May Day protest, just to raise awareness and to raise money for sanctuaries. That's his vision. So I think that probably will be my first one. Like, it's a stand for 12 hours basically type thing. So yeah, that'll be my first thing. I've thought about doing like the cube type stuff, where you stand, you know, back to back with videos, and then
Yes.
like people take turns to talk to the public. But I just haven't got around to doing it. I nearly did, and then we had lockdown, so it just hasn't happened. And then the only other one, yeah, the other one, there's one closer to me, but it happens to fall on a Sunday, and Sunday is my day usually for doing my activism, or just having a day for self-care. So I haven't got around to doing it, but I'm sure eventually I will. But I was close to doing local activism before I started this channel, but it just didn't, it kind of fell to pieces. Like, there was 3 of us, and one of us like disappeared out of the picture, and then it just didn't really happen. And I was like, I can't commit to something like this at the moment. So, but it's definitely in the plan. Like, I would like to do more, but I'm glad I did this, because I felt like I wanted to do something. I was so inspired to do some kind of activism, and I'm a pretty confident person, you know. I don't shy away from having conversations with people. Like yesterday, I don't know whether you know, in London we've just opened a fully vegan Burger King, and because I was in
Oh,
London, I
I
had
did.
to go
I saw
check it
that.
out. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I went there yesterday, and I ended up having a debate with a random person in there. I mean, I don't think he was going to be swayed, but I tried. So that was a fun little experience. Like, that's probably the first time I've ever actually
Yeah.
had a debate with someone in real life that wasn't my friend. So that was quite a cool little experience, even though it
Good
didn't,
for
you know, go
you.
down so well. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely something I want to do more of. Speaking to people on here, you know, and hearing the kind of stories that other people have been involved with in activism. It's really inspiring. There was one lady I spoke to. She like actually travels around in a van, and she goes to like little community vegan activism spots, where they just do stuff like sit on bulldozers and like really out there type stuff. And I'm like, do you know what? I could see myself doing that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's definitely in the plan, just not yet. So
That's
yeah.
incredible. Well, one, I just want to say, I think that every day you're doing activism and doing this is a huge impact, sharing everyone's
Yeah.
story and reaching, that's amazing. But yeah, it is, when you see people doing that, even more extreme things, I think it's such a kindness, because it's standing up for, it's sticking up for, you know, these creatures that are they're suffering beyond our comprehension. Every minute of their lives, they're desperate for things. And I don't know, it's just not too much to stand up for them. And I think that we would appreciate, there's not probably a person alive that wouldn't appreciate that if they were going through that. So
Yeah,
um,
100%.
so fantastic. It's good to hear.
Yeah. So let's do a little wrap up. Like, what would you say, how has veganism personally impacted your life since you've been vegan?
It's just in every way imaginable. I feel like my health is better. My body is running way better. It's running like more the way it should. My skin got brighter. and my eyes got bluer, like just so many weird biological things have changed with my body in a really good way. And just also just karmically, I feel like things are really good. I've got a really good life, and I can't imagine going back. It's so funny. I feel like people try to point out that I'm missing out on something, and I'm just like, our food makes your food good. Come on, boil steak and see how that tastes. You put minerals on it, you put herbs, all the natural things. That's the flavor. Give me a break. And I'm not missing out on anything, and I've just gained so much. So I hope that everyone can find that for themselves. And like you said, for themselves. I think it's really sad to see someone celebrating, oh, I'm eating pigs and I just had beef, taco or whatever, I'm eating cows, and they're suffering with like skin conditions that they're spending tons of money to try to fix. And like literally, if they just took out meat and dairy, they could fix that themselves. I mean, it's just really sad to see people suffering, and they're paying into suffering. And I think the Buddhist saying, and I'm not exactly Buddhist, but I love the philosophy of suffering begets suffering. And we see that. And so much has been removed from my life, making my change. I couldn't be happier.
That's amazing. So one last question before we end. That is, if there's anyone that is currently watching that isn't vegan yet, what one piece of advice would you give to them?
Just try it. And I guess first of all, advice for anyone, if you're having a condition of any kind, just look up like clinical studies on what you should be eating to fix that situation. And that will probably clear up what you should be eating. But also just take it slow, like, just try to cut out what you can. I just did it all at once. I don't think that's reasonable for everyone. I think that it's a good practice to just try to add in more veggies. If you're curious about making something that is your favorite thing, or you're like, oh, I just would miss out on this thing so much, this certain pie or this certain meal, look up the vegan version of it. And people rate all those recipes now. You can look at just the 5-star recipes that are the same thing that you love so much. And I think that you're going to find that it's pretty incredible. We've evolved, we've come a long way. And just give it a shot, and it doesn't have to all happen overnight.
Absolutely. And if there is anybody out in the audience watching that would like to get a hold of you personally, how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, you know what? My Instagram is vegan sugar, and that's
Love it.
VEGANSHUGAH, the Southern spelling of sugar. And yeah, I mean, absolutely. Reach out on Instagram is probably the best. I think I probably not on there all the time, but I do check that quite frequently compared to other things. Yeah, and I'm happy. It's actually, there's nothing that fills me up more than getting a message from a friend saying, what vegan recipe for this would you recommend? What, I'm cooking for a vegan friend. Can you, that fills me up. Like, oh my God, I have a friend cooking a vegan meal. I'm like on it. I'm going to find like the yummiest recipe for you. I'm just happy to have any discussions anybody ever wants to have about that. So definitely do reach out.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, that's the end of our interview. It's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, Luna, thank you so much. Thanks for all that you do. You're amazing. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this interview as much as I have, and you've learned something new. If you are a vegan watching and you would like to be my next star guest, please do get in contact. You can find me on Facebook, Luna Bloomer, or you can email me on veganbloomers@gmail.com. Thank you again for watching. And also do come and join our Facebook group if you're on Facebook, Vegan Bloomers. We welcome everybody. You don't have to be vegan. It's just there for information, education, just so we can, be a community like we should be as the human race. We're all in this together. So yeah, come and join us. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all next time. Much love.
Thank you.